Nobody wants to admit this, but mate Rimac just got proven wrong on a public sidewalk in Miami. By a truck, a trailer, and a car he said could never be fixed without him. Picture the gap between you and a Bugatti Chiron. For almost everyone alive, that gap never closes. You catch one idling through traffic, phone up, gone before you can focus. You see one roped off at a show, lit like a relic, guarded by a man whose entire job is making sure you stay exactly 3 feet too far away. That is the whole relationship most people will ever have with this car. Tonight, that relationship just got rewritten on a public street, and nobody asked Bugatti's permission. The car in question is not just any Chiron. It is the Pur Sport that mate Rimac, Bugatti's own CEO, said in public could not be independently repaired. The one Matt Armstrong sliced open and rebuilt from the ground up in a Florida shop. The one that quietly revealed Audi airbags, Volkswagen pumps, and Lamborghini fuse hardware living inside the most exclusive hypercar money can buy. Tonight, that exact car sits stripped down, exposed, parked in Brickell with no glass, no rope, no curated lighting designed to make the conversation feel smaller than it is. Subscribe now because tonight changes the direction of this entire saga. Sit with that image for a second. A Chiron Pur Sport, completely bare, sitting in public like a used hatchback at a meet. Not behind glass built to convince you that you wouldn't understand it anyway. On a sidewalk, every weld Bob hand fabricated. Every part Bugatti insisted was impossible to source outside their walls. Sourced anyway, sitting in plain view. The original crash damage that started this whole chain of events. A structure rebuilt from a totaled shell with zero factory scan data. Just instinct and a steady hand. All of it, out in the open for one night. For anyone who bothers to walk over and look closely. Here's what makes this more than a car meet. When mate Rimac spoke publicly about this rebuild, his real argument was never about safety. It was gatekeeping wearing a safety costume. The subtext was simple. These machines are too advanced for outsiders. Stay inside our network, trust our technicians, pay our invoices. Ordinary hands don't belong here. Tonight, Effspot took that argument and dragged it onto a public street under streetlights, daring anyone with eyes to check the claim themselves. No appointment, no technician required, no supervision. That is not recklessness. That is a man who knows exactly what his car has already proven. Because piece by piece, every claim Bugatti made about this build has collapsed under scrutiny. The airbags they called unobtainable turned out to be Audi A3 units. The kind any independent shop could order from a normal parts catalog with zero calls to Molsheim. The radiators they called impossible were hand-built in an ordinary machine shop. No proprietary tooling, no 5-figure factory invoice attached. The structural work they called proprietary was rebuilt by hand from a wrecked shell. No factory scan, no blessing, just patience. The car Bugatti implied was beyond saving is sitting on a trailer tonight because it was already saved months ago, and now it's about to prove that to total strangers. And Effspot isn't doing this solo. Matt Armstrong is going to be standing right next to that car. Yes, that Matt Armstrong. Currently stuck across the Atlantic waiting on Bugatti Manchester to sort out a fuel pump issue on his own Veyron. The same man whose 1,100-pound repair bill turned Bugatti's 20,000-pound quote into a punchline. The same man whose 5-pound part from Halfords traced back to a fault that, through official channels, would have cost a small fortune. Now picture him standing beside Effspot's stripped Chiron in public in Miami. That's not two guys hanging out. That's two separate pieces of evidence, presented side by side for a jury that's been building its case online for 2 years. Think about what that image actually means for mate Rimac. Two different men, two different cars, both proving with receipts that Bugatti's entire exclusivity argument describes a version of these vehicles that doesn't exist anymore, if it ever did. And tonight, both pieces of proof are standing together, surrounded by the exact community that watched every part number, every reveal, every step of the build in real time. This isn't a car show. This is a verdict, delivered outdoors, lit by nothing but phone flashlights and 2 years of pent-up curiosity. Mary Brickell Village, 9:30 p.m. Eastern, 911 South Miami Avenue. For anyone watching from the UK, that's 2:30 in the morning. And yes, people are genuinely setting alarms for that. Because this build has earned exactly that level of obsession from people who will only ever see this car through a screen. Here's the part that makes tonight non-negotiable. Effspot has confirmed this is the only chance anyone gets. Once this Chiron is finished, the wide body kit goes on permanently, and everything visible tonight disappears for good, sealed under bodywork like none of it ever happened. Every fabricated panel, every unsourceable part that turned out to be a phone call away, every visible decision made over months of rebuild work Every workaround Bugatti claimed didn't exist, but got found anyway. All of it. Gone the moment this car rolls into its final, polished, suspiciously quiet form. Tonight is the last night the proof is visible with the naked eye, before it gets covered up and handed back to the world as a finished product with no receipts attached. And there's one more thing nobody's been told yet. A major announcement is dropping tonight, and Effspot hasn't said a word about what it is. Think about the timing. A rebuild that has already exposed more real information about this car than Bugatti has shared in years. Choosing to drop a surprise announcement at the exact event where Matt Armstrong is present, and the car is publicly visible for the last time in this state. That is not a coincidence, that is staging. Whatever this announcement is, it was big enough that Effspot wanted the entire community there in person, not finding out secondhand the next morning. Everyone who shows up in Miami tonight sees it live. Everyone in the UK staying up until 2:30 in the morning is locked into the same moment. Half asleep and fully invested, refreshing their phones in the dark just to be there for it. Everyone catching the recap afterward is watching the exact second this stopped being a garage project and became something the entire industry has to deal with, whether Bugatti comments on it or not. Mate Rimac said this couldn't be done. Effspot and Matt Armstrong didn't just prove him wrong. They put the proof on a trailer and invited the public to touch it with their own hands. No waiver, no supervision, no script to follow. Logistics are still being finalized, but the plan is to keep tonight manageable, because nobody wants a crowd this size turning into chaos on a public street with this much riding on it. Consider how rare this actually is. Manufacturers spend millions building controlled environments specifically to prevent moments like this from ever happening. Approved camera angles. Security teams whose only function is keeping people at a distance. Tonight, none of that exists. Just a trailer, a 6x6, and a community that refused to look away for 2 years finally close enough to put their hands on the thing they've been arguing about online since the very first salvage listing appeared. Somewhere in Molsheim, someone at Bugatti is going to see footage of strangers in Miami running their fingers over a panel Bob built by hand, and there will be nothing they can do about it. No statement undoes tonight. No press release puts that bodywork back on early. Subscribe now, because whatever drops tonight sets the direction for everything that comes next in this saga. A stripped Bugatti Chiron sitting in public, with Matt Armstrong standing beside it, is already one of the most significant nights this community has documented together. And by the time tonight ends, it might not even be the biggest story to come out of Miami. If you followed this build from the airbag reveal to the Halfords fuse to the moment Mate Rimac went public, you already know tonight isn't optional. This is the payoff every clip, every comment section argument, every late-night refresh has been building toward. Whatever the announcement turns out to be, you're going to want to have seen it happen first, not had it explained to you afterward by someone who was actually there. 911 South Miami Avenue, 9:30 p.m. Eastern, tonight only. Don't be late.